There we go. Now we should be able to. Just watch out. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check, mic check. You hear me? All right. Do you want to wipe it?
Hi, I'm Congressman Jesus Garcia. People know me as Chuy, and I'm very proud that the National Museum of Mexican Art is in my district in the Pilsen community. One of my favorite times of the year is November because an annual exhibit and series of events at the National Museum of Mexican Art is Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead. And I want to invite you to turn in to the virtual program that will be held on that day. You don't want to miss it. It will be interesting for you, for your family, and your friends. Tell everyone about it. It starts on September 18th. Corran la voz. Tell everyone you know to tune in. I promise it will be interesting, entertaining, and you'll feel a lot better about it. Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead, a significant moment in our history, our culture, and for all of our people.
Good evening. I'm Carlos Tortoledo, President and founder of the National Museum of Mexican Art. It gives me great pleasure to welcome all of you to our 34th annual Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead exhibition. Through these years, a little bit over 1.5 million people have visited our Dia de los Muertos exhibitions. We are very proud that we have introduced so many people to this wonderful, magnificent celebration that is so Mexican, so Mexicano. It's so important that we honor and thank the people who've come before us. With this present COVID pandemic, which has claimed the lives of so many people, many of us now, unfortunately, know individuals who have passed away. More than ever, it is important for us to acknowledge the people who have passed away and thank them for all the good things they did while they were still with us. It's important for all of us to understand that life is sacred and it's a gift, and we should live every day to the fullest enjoyment that we can. So please enjoy this exhibition, and hopefully a year from now, you can join us live in person for our 35th annual celebration of Dia de los Muertos. Be well, everybody. Thank you.
Carlos. Hi, my name is Barbara Engelskirchen, and I'm the Chief Development Officer at the National Museum of Mexican Art in Chicago, Illinois, Pilsen. I'm standing in one of the galleries that's part of our exhibition, Nuestras Historias, Stories of Mexican Identity from the Permanent Collection. Behind me is a painting called Mis Funerales, My Funerals, by Alejandro Romero. Thank you for joining us virtually tonight. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the museum will be closed to the public at least through the end of the year. Though nothing can beat being at the museum in person, we hope tonight's virtual kickoff will be engaging and give you insight you wouldn't get from a typical opening. So get comfortable, grab some food and drink, and we'll get started. We hope you'll enjoy tonight's lineup. It includes some time inside the galleries, viewing the artworks that are part of the exhibition Solo un Poco Aqui, Day of the Dead, interviews with a few artists whose work is included in the exhibition, live music by Son Monarcas, poetry, and more. Now I'd like to introduce Cesario Moreno, the museum's Chief Curator and Visual Arts Director, who's at our main gallery.
Gracias, Barbara. Bienvenidos a todos. Welcome to the 34th annual Day of the Dead exhibition at the National Museum of Mexican Art. It's kind of a bummer that we have to do it this way, but it's the safest way we can, and we have a lot of artwork to show you today, as well as conversations with artists. So this is the best way for now. Obviously in the future, we look forward to seeing you here. We look forward to welcoming you. But this year, let's enjoy the Day of the Dead exhibit, Solo un poco aquí. Come on in. This year, the exhibition pulled together many pieces from the permanent collection, as well as the talent of our local artists. This year, because we could not travel and have people come from across the country and across Mexico, we relied heavily on the beautiful collection that we have here at the National Museum of Mexican Art. We have 10,000 objects in our collection, many of which are pieces from different parts of Mexico, many of which celebrate the Day of the Dead and the concepts that are part of this age-old tradition. Here, welcoming us today, is La Catrina y el Catrín. They are two sculptures that are made from tule reeds from the Lake Pátzcuaro region of Michoacán. And of course, no Day of the Dead celebration would be complete without La Catrina. La Catrina is a very important Mexican icon. She was originated around 1911, 1913, right during the Mexican Revolution by José Guadalupe Posada. He is probably the premier printmaker of Latin America, and he has definitely left his imprint on the cultures here in the Americas. As mentioned earlier, it's very unfortunate what is happening today in this moment in so many ways. But the pandemic among them, a pandemic that really has shaken a lot of things in this country and changed the way in which we celebrate the arts, whether it's the visual arts or whether it's the performing arts. Let's take a moment and just remember those individuals who have lost their life this year to the COVID pandemic.
If you've just joined us, welcome to the National Museum of Mexican Art's virtual kickoff of the 2020 Dia de Muertos season. Before we go any further, I'd like to thank the museum's supporters. Solo un poco aquí, Day of the Dead, was made possible by ComEd, the Prince Charitable Trust, the City of Chicago Department of Cultural Affairs and Special Events, the Chicago Park District, the Illinois Arts Council, and hundreds of individual donors like you. If you'd like to become a donor, look for a link in the chat or visit our website at nationalmuseumofmexicanart.org. We'll be back in the gallery a little later. Now we'd like to share a few short video segments, the first featuring Artemio Casas of Panaderia Nuevo León, here on 18th Street in Pilsen. Then we'll have a message from a special friend of the museum. The first video is filmed in Spanish, and even if you don't speak the language, you'll sense Artemio's pride in making pan de muerto, a sweet bread made for Day of the Dead. In this interview, Artemio describes how the shapes of the bread are symbolic of the circle of life, bones and skulls. He invites all of you to visit Nuevo León Bakery and support small businesses in Pilsen.
Mi nombre es Artemio Casas. Trabajamos aquí en la panadería Nuevo León. Está en el 1634 West de la 18 Street. Estamos abiertos desde las 6 de la mañana hasta las 8 de la noche. Y se abrió esta panadería en 1973 y seguimos abiertos. Esperamos seguir abiertos todavía. Hicimos pan de muerto. Ese pan es tradicional cada año en octubre. Se celebra el Día de Muertos y cada pan tiene un significado. Hay uno que le llaman la hojaldra, que son huesitos del cuerpo, que antes lo hacían, se mutilaba el cuerpo, se enredaba y el cráneo se ponía arriba de todo el cuerpo que estaba mutilado para poderlo enterrar. Y cada pan redondo significa un círculo de la vida. So, los huesitos que están como cruzados son las manos y los pies, y el pedacito de masa que está arriba es la cabeza. Okay. Hay otro que es el cuerpo entero. So, está formado a base de también como entierran uno a los muertos, los arreglan, vienen arregladitos, pintaditos, tienen sus ojitos bien marcados, las manos cruzadas. Eso es el pan de muerto. Cada año se ponen ofrenda al difunto, le ponen mucho como les gusten, les ponen el pan de muerto, les ponen naranja, les ponen vino, les ponen tequila, la comida favorita del difunto. Que cada año se va al panteón a limpiar las tumbas, adornarlas. Eso es el significado, que ese Día de Muertos viene el espíritu del difunto a comer. Un saludo a la gente que nos está viendo por internet, y los invitamos aquí a la panadería Nuevo León para que vengan a probar nuestro pan. No nada más el pan de muerto, también nuestro pan, que gracias a Dios se ha convertido en un favorito de la gente, y les damos las gracias, y ayuden a los pequeños negocios. Gracias.
Mariana Nunn, the director of the Art Museum at the National Hispanic Cultural Center in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I wanted to just say hi, and I hope that everybody's having a wonderful time at the opening at the National Museum of Mexican Art. We love our colleagues at the National Museum of Mexican Art, and we love what they do, especially around Dia de los Muertos, because not only do they share the tradition, they really care about the authenticity and the meaning behind the tradition, and they do a great job. We love them, and I hope you enjoy this evening. Here in New Mexico during the fall, the green chili is roasting, and we wish we could share that with all of you.
Thank you, Tay. It's always good to see you. I also look forward to those green chiles from Nuevo Mexico. And just want to say hello to everybody out there who's watching from the Southwest, from the land of enchantment. So part of the collection, obviously, is a lot of gorgeous pieces. Some of them have been part of this museum since the early 90s. Árboles de la vida are called trees of life. They have an ancient tradition. They are part of the pre-Cuauhtémoc celebrations that continue in modern day Mexico. And the trees of life, these in particular, were created by the Castillo family, dear friends of this museum. Many of the Castillo family spent the Day of the Dead season up here in Chicago, doing demonstrations and showing their artwork to our visitors. Estado de Mexico and Metepec is another well-represented state that also creates Árboles de la Vida. I believe there's an ongoing dispute as to who was first in making the Árboles. But nonetheless, it continues to be a very important tradition. We're gonna see a little bit later on Salvador Jimenez, an artist from the Chicagoland area, who takes this form of ceramics and transforms it into contemporary expressions. But right now, we're going to say hello to Veronica Castillo, the daughter of Alfonso and one of the Castillo family members now living in San Antonio, Texas.
Hola, antes que nada agradecerle al National Museum Mexican Art de Chicago, Illinois. Tengo el honor de estar participando con mi familia en la exhibición de Día de Muertos que lleva el título Solo un poco aquí. Esa frase es muy interesante haberle puesto solo un poco de aquí. Es en estos momentos tan difíciles de esta pandemia, que ha sido tan difícil para todos, nos ha cambiado la vida, nos ha dado una gran lección de vida esta pandemia. Debe de ser para una manera aprender a vivir, a respetar, amar, crear y sobre todo aceptar con amor nuestro arte como lo que me han heredado mis antepasados. Yo pertenezco a la 4ª generación de los árboles de la vida. Soy originaria de Izúcar de Matamoros, Puebla, hija del señor Alfonso Castillo Horta, mi maestro, mi mentor y un ser especial. Y ahora en Día de Muertos, que estamos celebrándolos, conmemorándolos, recordándolos, tenemos que honrar y seguir su legado. Muchas gracias y esperamos vernos pronto en vivo algún día. Pronto debe de ser, quizás el próximo año, para el evento, la exhibición del Día de Muertos. Y agradecerles una vez más en tener la oportunidad de estar en esta exhibición solo un poco aquí. Gracias al museo, gracias a los directores, a los curadores. Muchas gracias en nombre de la familia Castillo Hernández. Muchas gracias.
Buenas noches. My name is Jorge Valdivia and I'm the Performing Arts Consultant. When we think about Day of the Dead, it's important to remember that music also plays a role. From the Nahua to the Totonaco people, music has played a very important part in their Day of the Dead celebrations. Tonight wouldn't be the same without it. With that said, we've invited Chicago's very own Son Monarcas to join us. They're a music ensemble well-versed in Afro-Mestizo genres of Bazacan folk and other music. Here is Son Monarcas performing Volar Conmigo with a little help from the dancers from the Chicago Institute for Cultural Arts, also known as SICA. Let's watch.
All right, we're going to do an original tune called Volar Conmigo, dedicated to the people of Michoacán and all the migrants represented by the mariposa monarca, the monarch butterfly.
Volar, 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 volar conmigo. Volar, volar, volar como la mariposa. Oh, volar, 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 volar conmigo. Oh, volar,
Yo, Netzahualcoyotl, lo pregunto, is it true one really lives on the earth? No para siempre en la tierra, only a little while here. Aunque sea de jade, se quiebra, though it be gold, it wears away. Aunque sea plumaje de quetzal, se desgarra, not forever on earth, solo un poco aquí. De la poesía yo lo pregunto, del rey poeta Netzahualcoyotl. Welcome to the National Museum of Mexican Art y bienvenidos a la exposición Solo un poco aquí, Day of the Dead. Mi nombre es Dolores Mercado y soy la curadora de Solo un poco aquí, Day of the Dead.
Muchísimas gracias, Dolores Mercado. Muchísimas gracias también a Marilyn Lara Corral. Thank you so much for curating an incredible exhibition under these very difficult circumstances that we're under. You guys did a phenomenal job. The poem that Dolores Mercado, the curator, just read was a poem by Netzahualcoyotl. He was the emperor of Texcoco before the arrival of the Spanish. He was a warrior, he was an architect, he was a philosopher, he was a poet. He was a true leader of his people. And those words that he spoke continue to be relevant and true for us today. Today we join all of you from Chicago or Chicago. The city is on traditional homelands of the Council of Three Fires, Ottawa, Ojibwe, and the Potawatomi Nation, as well as many other people like the Miami, the Ho-Chunk, the Menominee, the Sac, and the Fox. American Indians continue to call this region their home, and today, Chicago has one of the largest urban indigenous communities. It's a community that still practices their heritage and their traditions in the United States. They care for the land and the waterways. They are true curators in that they are taking care of their culture and their heritage. It's our responsibility as citizens to acknowledge this historic context and the lands that we now are situated on. In Mexico, Day of the Dead is also incredibly impacted by the ancient indigenous and the contemporary indigenous communities. The Huichol and many of the Purépecha indigenous people of Michoacán, as well as many other indigenous people, continue to celebrate the Day of the Dead and bring us their spiritual beliefs and traditions and rituals. Ceramics from all parts of Mexico, Oaxaca, Michoacán, they all have a piece of the ancient indigenous and contemporary indigenous cultures as a part of them. Different parts. These photographs by Anne Murdy have been taken in different parts of Mexico. You can see the Purépecha along Lake Pátzcuaro.
Hello everyone. My name is Thelma Uranga, Communications and Development Manager here at the National Museum of Mexican Art. If you're just arriving, thank you so much for being here. We're at the museum's first virtual Dia de los Muertos season kickoff. We're coming to you live from the Pilsen neighborhood in Chicago. If you like what you see tonight, give us a like, make a comment, or share this video with your friends. Coming up, you'll hear from a few artists in the exhibition, including Carmen Chami and Maria Tomasula. But first, I'd like to introduce you to the wonderful Xenia Ruiz of Flor del Monte. They're a local Pilsen floral design and event company. She'll talk about what cempasúchil, or marigold, means for the Day of the Dead.
Hello, my name is Xenia. I am the creative designer at Flor del Monte. Flor del Monte is a Latina-owned special floral event design company in Pilsen, and we've been here about 18 years now. So flowers is what we do, is what we love, and hopefully we get to share a little bit about that with you all today. For us, the marigold flower, cempasúchil, is obviously really important. My abuelita always had, bushes of it, planters of it in her home. So did my mom. And actually, we brought this from my mom's garden. But it's obviously very significant for Dia de los Muertos, for Day of the Dead, for different reasons. If you know the cempasúchil, the smell is very strong. So it's said that in pre-Columbian times, the smell of the cempasúchil and the bright colors, because it comes in like beautiful oranges, yellows, it would attract the souls of the dead. So now for Dia de los Muertos, you have people making ofrendas, or in Mexico, as you see, going to the cemetery and decorating with the cempasúchil in the hopes that their loved ones will be brought to them for Dia de los Muertos. I think something that moves me when we're doing this, when we're seeing people just excited to celebrate, excited to create altars, is that they're sharing it with their children, they're sharing it with young ones. And I think for me, growing up in Pilsen in the 80s, you didn't see that. Like, I didn't go around and see cempasúchil in windows or just seeing all this massive celebration. And I think that's a testament for the fact that we are pushing forward and saying, hey, it's not necessarily like assimilate, but embrace the differences, embrace the culture. These are positive things. These are things that so many people can learn from. And Dia de los Muertos does teach everyone so much about not necessarily death, but just death and family and our own traditions. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you for being a part of this. I know it's not how we would have liked to kick off Dia de los Muertos at the museum, not the way we know, but we're learning and we're growing, and we're gonna do it the best way we can, so enjoy.
Gracias, Xenia. I could not agree with you more on the beautiful smell of the cempasúchil bundles when they're either loaded up, taken from the fields, or in somebody's home on an ofrenda. They certainly would bring back the souls of our ancestors, just smelling them. Another tradition that is not part of the Day of the Dead, but certainly sheds light on the way Mexicanos have seen and understood life and death for a long time. Dolores Mercado has included the idea of the monjas coronadas. This was an 18th century Baroque painting genre in which women's portraits were painted. They were either painted as they joined the convent, entered the nunnery, never to be seen again except in their portrait, or painted at the end of their life here on earth before they entered eternity. Their paintings were made, and they are what remain. Carmen Chami, Maria Tomasula, and Esperanza Gama have works of art that are based on this genre of painting. Carmen Chami will say something in a minute about her inspiration and how she sees this disappearance of women, and the only thing remaining are the portraits, as a reference to contemporary femicide, a horrible tragedy that's happening today in Mexico and on the borderlands.
Hola, mi nombre es Carmen Chami, soy artista visual, especialista en pintura de arte virreinal del siglo XVII y hoy les quiero compartir mi obra titulada Sorora, precisamente hecha para este Día de los Muertos aquí en el Museo de Arte Mexicano. La obra Sorora viene de una inspiración cuando a mí me plantearon la idea de hacer monjas coronadas. Me pareció como muy importante hablar de vincularla a esta tradición que hay del retrato novohispano sobre estas mujeres que entraban a los conventos para desaparecer. Entonces me parecía como importante ligarla a nuestra actualidad, a lo que está sucediendo y de lo que se está hablando ahorita en México, que es precisamente de los feminicidios, y cómo a partir de estas presencias de mujeres que de repente desaparecen, como sucedía también en aquel entonces cuando las mujeres entraban al convento y lo único que nos quedaba eran sus retratos, cómo hablar de la misma manera de esa sensación de que se queda una imagen para luego desaparecer. Entonces esta obra en particular está cargada como de muchos simbolismos llevados hacia esa parte. Thank you so much for joining us in this beautiful exhibition. My name is Carmen Chami. I'm an visual artist, and thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maria Tamasula. I'm a painter. Grew up in and around Chicago, Gary, East Chicago, Indiana, so I'm from the area. The theme that my painting is going to be in is the monjitas coronadas or monjas coronadas. So what I wanted to do was to take that tradition and sort of bring it into the present. And what I was thinking was that, you know, we're all shaped by our pasts. What things that happened in the past, really kind of the ghosts or the resonances of the past continue on to today and shape us, you know, like whether we want to or not. There's beliefs and practices and all kinds of institutions and so on that basically come out of the past. So kind of in summary, for me, the painting is an image of a woman who is aware of the histories that shape her, but also wants to take those ideas, sift through them, and use what she can to create a better future. I'm so happy to be in the show. I'm thankful to everyone at the museum, and I'm thankful to everybody who goes and sees the exhibition. Every year it's amazing, and every year I don't think the previous year could be topped, but every year they do it somehow. So I hope you enjoyed the painting, and I hope you enjoy the entire exhibition. Thanks so much.
The painting behind me is by Herman Aguirre. It just came into the collection last year. Herman's piece, Todos en Línea, unfortunately reflects a lot of the ideas and the visions and the experiences of immigrants in this country. Other artists who joined the exhibition, René Arceo, Ricardo Sarment, and Carlos Barberena, also did prints that take a look at today, at this moment, at what's happening. Ricardo looks at the children, the students who are not in school, who are studying from home, even though they would rather be with their friends and their teachers. Also, René talks about the bat, the ancient bat god, and makes a connection with the COVID-19 pandemic. And lastly, Carlos Barberena did a triptych on shopping bags, as you can see. And these shopping bags are about the essential workers. Sometimes these essential workers in present day are also undocumented. How ironic that those people who work to get us fed, get food to our house, keep us safe, and keep so much of this economy and this country moving are actually villainized oftentimes by the media and the government.
I'm Carlos Barberena. I'm a printmaker based in Chicago, and also I'm part of the Instituto Gráfico de Chicago. I was thinking a lot about like a focus about, you know, like all the people that have been died during this pandemic, but also like I was thinking better, like I think about to pay an honor and respect to essential workers, especially undocumented workers. And I started like to working in a series that it was about like a farmer workers that have been like in my early work. And I think it's very important because farmer workers have been like despite the pandemic, the risk of the pandemic, injustice, the lack of protections or economic help from the government, they have been like bringing our food to the table. So I want to just like honor them. Thank you so much to coming to the virtual exhibition to the 34th Day of the Dead, solo un poco aquí, y espero que lo disfruten. I hope you enjoyed this show. Thank you. Gracias.
Buenas noches. If you've just dropped in, thank you for joining us for the National Museum of Mexican Art's very first virtual Day of the Dead season kickoff. In just a few minutes, we'll be hearing from acclaimed author, poet, novelist, artist, Sandra Cisneros, who also happens to be a good friend of the museum. But first, performing La Llorona, here again is Son Monarcas.
This is La Llorona from the state of Oaxaca.
Del templo un día, Llorona, cuando al pasar yo te vi. Salías del templo un día, Llorona, cuando al pasar yo te vi. Hermoso huipil llevabas, Llorona, que la Virgen te creí. Hermoso huipil llevabas, Llorona, que la Virgen te creí. Ay de mí, Llorona, 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 de azul celeste. Ay de mí, Llorona,
My name is Mario Hernandez, Gallery Education Coordinator at the National Museum of Mexican Art, welcoming you from Nuestras Historias, the museum's permanent collection exhibition. Calaveritas, or calaveritas literarias, is a way to express points of views or feelings as a satirical epitaph. These were published for the first time in 1849 by the newspaper El Socialista of Guadalajara, Mexico. These verses are characterized by portraying the reality of a situation, a person, a character, or even a country through an irreverent style. The calavera I'm about to present was written by the Director of Education, Antonio Pasaran, who unfortunately could not join us tonight. It reflects and criticizes the way we have handled the pandemic as a society and the way it has been handled by our government. El 2020 comenzó con mucha alegría. La gente organizó todo lo que quería. Los viajes, las dietas estaban en la orden del día, pero nadie sabe lo que un pinche murciélago haría. El don del copete también sigue fallando. Él sabía que pex, pero nunca dijo algo. Parece que la huesuda es muy su amiga, ya que da permiso de ponernos a todas en fila. Ya tenemos 6 meses encerrados y sin salir. No sabemos cuándo volvamos a resurgir. La gente no entiende y se junta para las fiestas, cuando el resultado puede ser una paseada en caja y a escarbar nuestra nueva aposenta. Estamos en ansias de que salga una vacuna, pero si no cambiamos en noviembre, nos seguirá cargando la huesuda. La vida es corta y hay que tener cuidado. Hay que usar la máscara y no hacer caso al señor anaranjado. Pa' pendejo no se estudia y lo tiene confirmado. La ciencia es la respuesta y con tiempo tendremos resultados. Esta calaverita ya se terminó. Espero les haya gustado. Si van a estornudar, hazte pa' un lado.
Te avientas, licenciado Pasaran. Thank you for those words. And thank you, Mario, for reading such a beautiful poem. Sometimes poetry has a way of cutting through and speaking the truth in ways that other forms of expression do not necessarily. The visual arts is also another honest way of looking at the world, an imaginative and creative way. And Salvador Jimenez here has a great installation of pieces he made. They represent La Villita, also known as Little Village, a neighborhood in Chicago that has seen a lot of problems over the past years. Like many other brown and black neighborhoods, it has seen everything from shooting through gentrification, and most recently, air pollution, contaminación. Contamination of the air is at the heart of these pieces. If you've noticed, these pieces should look familiar. They should remind you of the árboles de la vida, the trees of life, those folk art pieces that we saw at the very beginning of the exhibition. Salvador has taken this age-old, pre-Cuauhtémoc way of creating ceramics, and he has combined it and brought it into the 21st century. Unfortunately, it's with a sad message and with the idea of change and hope for the neighborhood.
My name is Salvador Jimenez Flores. I'm an artist, an educator, and a citizen. The title of this piece is The Environmental Tree of Little Village. So I think initially I was interested in working with this traditional folk art of making a tree of life and thinking about the meaning of this tradition, which it comes with the idea of combining different religions and unite people. So I was interested to do in this Tree of Life installation to incorporate the community that I live in into this installation. Bueno, gracias a todos por pasar un tiempo aquí con nosotros en esta exposición virtual. Si usted es un residente de La Villita y está interesado en participar en este proyecto comunitario, donde utilizaremos la arcilla como una manera de crear comunidad, pero también hablar de los de las cosas que están pasando en el vecindario. Favor de comunicarse conmigo. Mi página web es salvadorjimenez.com.
Over the last 34 years, the museum has presented a Dia de los Muertos exhibition, highlighting one of Mexico's most significant and celebrated traditions. Throughout the course of this annual exhibit, over 1 million people have learned about this tradition through the artwork and ofrendas dedicated to loved ones on display. The artwork often reminding us that every region of Mexico brings something special to the tradition on November 1st and 2nd. The exhibition has also provided a platform for artists from both sides of the border to express notions, concepts, and ideas often associated with losing someone close to us. During the cycle of the Dia de los Muertos exhibition, the museum welcomes over 600 school groups where students get to experience this tradition come to life. Through educational programming such as gallery tours and hands-on art workshops, many of these students learn about the tradition for the first time. Since the inception of the Day of the Dead exhibition 34 years ago, the National Museum of Mexican Art has invited many local artists to participate, some who have returned over the years. One of these artists is el maestro Héctor Duarte from the state of Michoacán, who is one of the participating artists in Un Poquito Aqui, Day of the Dead.
Welcome back to the National Museum of Mexican Art Day of the Dead exhibition. And if you saw in one of those last photos, there was work by Héctor Duarte. Héctor had the first Day of the Dead exhibit here in 1986, quite a while ago. Héctor is still producing artwork, still getting on scaffolds and painting murals, and still coming to the museum to install incredible pieces like this. Sadly enough, this piece is to memorialize two of the warriors, two of the people who safeguard the monarch sanctuaries of Michoacán, his home state. Homero Gomez and Raúl Hernández were killed earlier this year by the Talamontes. This is the illicit lumber industry that's in Mexico. Hector is going to talk a little bit about his piece to you, explain the significance of it, and at the end have a heartfelt plea for everybody to plant milkweed. The monarch butterflies are currently in Chicago this week, and milkweeds will just keep them coming back and keep them happily fed.
Mi nombre es Héctor Duarte, soy pintor, muralista, grabador y le hago a todo. Y soy uno de los invitados a esta exposición y resolví hacer el tema sobre los dos líderes comunitarios en el Rosario, en Michoacán. El Rosario es el santuario a donde llega la monarca, la mariposa monarca desde Canadá, y fueron asesinados este enero de este año. Vilmente fueron asesinados y ellos protegen, su misión era solo proteger los bosques para que las mariposas lleguen ahí y pasen todo el invierno, puesto que no sobrevivirían acá en Canadá o Estados Unidos en todo el invierno. Por esa razón estoy haciendo memoria a Raúl y a Homero. Por último, sí me gustaría decir algo acerca de, aparte de que nosotros los invito a todos los que nos estén viendo ahora, que pudieran en su jardín plantar esta planta milkweed que se llama. Eso nos ayudaría a que cuando pasan las mariposas, tanto de ida como de vuelta, pudieran tener comida y donde poner sus huevecillos. Eso sería pues aparte, que si tienen la intención de ver pues qué bueno que están viendo este espacio, esta oportunidad visual, que digo que no es en presencia, pero ojalá que logren captar ese sentido de todos los exponentes en esta exposición.
Thank you again for joining us tonight. If you're just tuning in, my name is Thelma Uranga at the National Museum of Mexican Art in Chicago. I'd like to tell you about a few of the upcoming programs we have this season. But for the most up-to-date information, you'll want to check out our website, which is nationalmuseumofmexicanart.org. And while you're there, don't forget to sign up for our weekly email. We're hosting several virtual workshops this fall, and there's something for everyone, from families to children and adults 55 and over. One of my favorite events will be our virtual Day of the Dead Ball. It'll be a fun-filled evening of music, art, comedy, and cocktails, and much more. So please save the date and join us on Saturday, November 7th. It's our auxiliary board's signature fundraising event, and it promises to be a great time. We look forward to seeing you there.
Cisneros, speaking to you from my home in San Miguel de Allende, Mexico. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to say hello to my friends at the National Museum of Mexican Art in my hometown of Chicago. And this is a favorite time of the year for me to visit them, because this is when they put together the Day of the Dead exhibition, which this year is going to be a little bit different because of the pandemic, and so it's going to be virtual, and it's called Solo Un Poco Aqui, Day of the Dead. So please stay safe and be sure to continue virtually visiting and supporting the National Museum of Mexican Art. I don't know about you, but I need art. I need Day of the Dead. I need these altares to guide me, to connect me with the strength of my antepasados del otro lado, no del río, del otro lado de la vida. And I invite you also to be illuminated and lifted up. This is exactly what we need for these times. Así que support the National Museum of Mexican Art and visit their Day of the Dead exhibit. I'll be there. Adelante, adiós, be safe.
Gracias, Sandra. It's always a pleasure to see you. Can't wait until maybe next year when things change and you can come and visit us in Chicago. You know that you have a very special place in the heart of the city, and definitely at this museo. One of the other artists in the exhibit is Sam Kirk. You see her work here. Sam was invited, along with a few other artists, by Dolores Mercado to paint doors. The idea of a door we'll talk about a little bit later on, but right now we'll hear a little bit from Sam Kirk, a local Chicago artist who's working all over the place, not just in Chicago, but all over the globe. And she'll tell us a little bit about her door that she painted and the meaning behind this beautiful work of art.
Hey there, my name is Sam Kirk. I'm a local artist and muralist here in Chicago. Yeah, so with this piece, I was focusing on a lot of the love stories that haven't been told. In creating the piece, I was thinking about, what are the memories that often stay behind closed doors or that aren't shown out in the open, and how many doors hold these stories or these memories that only exist within the walls behind them. So I created a piece that kind of reminded me a little bit of how I looked at love when I was younger. You know, I was growing up and I was queer and trying to figure out how to navigate that, but also understanding my culture. I looked at all of these beautiful like vintage paintings of love stories and a mariachi serenading a woman and like just all these like beautiful, you know, picturesque scenes, and never saw a version of myself or like what my relationship might be in that. So in this piece, I wanted to kind of pull from that a little bit as inspiration, but also pay tribute and bring in some of the familiar icons from the Day of the Dead, and just kind of have that as a way to show other couples that come back during this time and like cheer us on and are like, oh wow, you know, they get to be in love out in the open in a way that we couldn't, you know, when we were alive. And I just feel like, you know, I'm very fortunate to be able to be in a relationship where I can, and be present in a time where I can be public with my relationship, and try to be as out and as proud as I can for those who couldn't before us. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's a different way to experience the exhibit, but we're happy to have you.
We've got a lot planned for this year's Day of the Dead season. And while the museum may not be open, we've been working really hard finding ways to bring the museo to your home. Now, in just a few moments, we'll be hearing from one of the artists, Rodrigo Lara. But first, here's Son Monarca performing La Sirena de la Frontera. Let's watch.
So this is another original tune by Son Monarcas from our first album, and it's actually the title of our first album, La Sirena de la Frontera.
Su pobreza, cada vez que veo a mi pueblo me entristece su pobreza, la extorsión de las empresas que dominan nuestras tierras, arrancándome las venas, los recursos de nuestra tierra. La sirena de la frontera, la sirena de la frontera, la sirena de la frontera, la sirena de la frontera.
traveling by, crossing deserts and oceans, looking for a better life. I look into the world, see walls going up, children fighting, they won't give up. And we say, no, 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 you can't come in. No, no, you better get out. No, no, and they say, but we can't survive the sea monster. We can't survive. Hey. I look into the world, see flowers going up, children crying, they won't go up. I look into the world, see families traveling by, crossing deserts and oceans, looking for better life, and we say no, 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 you can't come in. And they say, but we can't survive the sea monster. No, no,
Aqui.
no, no. Look into your heart, and it be the stars. Do we need a solution? Can that be a revolution? Got a revolution. Got a revolution. Is that the solution? That is the solution. We have Emily Kuhn on trumpet. Roy McGrath on sax. Kit Myers on bass. Sammy Torres en percusión. Roberto Ferreira en el güiro. Juan Pastor en la batería. Y Ferreira en la jarrana requinto. My name is Mercedes Inés, and we are Son Monarcas. Son of revolution, son of revolution of love, son of revolution.
Bienvenidos de nuevo. And a shout out welcome to all of our friends, community, and supporters from across the country in California, in Texas, Southwest, and even those of you in Canada. We see you all, and it's good to be here with you again in the main gallery. This piece is by Rodrigo Lara Cendejas. He is a Mexican artist who now resides and works here in the city of Chicago. And Rodrigo decided to make a contemporary conceptual installation a little bit based on the monjas coronadas idea. Remember we talked about that earlier with the nuns and the convents? Well, Rodrigo had an uncle. His tío Antonio was a priest. This piece is called Forever a Priest. He was a priest for 45 years, and the church took care of him, and he took care of his flock. And in the last 2 years of his life, he fell sick and was paralyzed, and his family took him back in and cared for him for his final 2 years. So here we see a bust of him when he was on his day of ordination and the day that he passed away. We have the wardrobe he wore as a priest for 45 years and the clothes he wore in the last final 2 years. Here's Rodrigo Lara to talk a little bit about this piece and his tío Antonio, who was forever a priest.
Mi nombre es Rodrigo Lara. El título de la pieza es Sacerdote para siempre. Estamos aquí para la exposición de Día de Muertos. Se llama Solo un poco aquí, Day of the Dead, en el National Museum of Mexican Art. La pieza básicamente hace una reflexión acerca de un sacerdote que fue mi tío. Él nació en 1945 en San Luis Potosí y en el 79 él se ordenó como sacerdote. Casi por 30 años ejerció esta profesión y lamentablemente tuvo una parálisis en la cual a partir de ese momento estuvo casi 2 años en coma. Entonces la pieza hace como una referencia en cuanto al vestuario que utilizó prácticamente por 30 años y eventualmente se puede ver la vestimenta hospitalaria, ¿no? Muchas gracias al National Museum of Mexican Art por la invitación a participar este año. Lamentablemente esta exposición solamente será accesible virtualmente. Ojalá que en algún momento todos podamos disfrutar de toda esta exposición completa. Pero mientras, muchas gracias por el apoyo y por la importancia de darle continuidad a esta exposición, ¿no? Que tiene año con año importantes proyectos en la ciudad.
Good evening, and thanks again for joining us tonight. I'm currently standing in our gallery that is home to Nuestras Historias, Stories of Mexican Identity from the Permanent Collection. If you have memories of visiting the museum and picking up a sugar skull, I think you'll enjoy this next segment. It features the Mondragon family, who has been making sugar skulls for generations through a tradition that's been handed down throughout the years. The video is from 2006, when the museum was still known as the Mexican Fine Arts Center. Take a look and enjoy.
The Mondragon family from Toluca, Estado de Mexico, has been making sugar skulls for several generations. Since 1995, Alejandro, Elvira, and their daughter have been coming to the Mexican Fine Arts Center Museum to demonstrate their craft of sugar skull making. Each fall, the Mondragon family makes and decorates thousands of brightly colored calaveritas for everyone to enjoy. The process of making sugar skulls is time-consuming and labor-intensive. The preparations begin months in advance, and the production also spans several months. The skilled artisans gather their materials for the skull, refined sugar, water, and ceramic molds, the icing, powdered sugar, eggs, lemon juice, natural colorings, and decorations, metallic foils, and sequins. Don Alejandro Mondragon takes the lead in preparing, making, and decorating the calaveras de azúcar, but not without the assistance of his wife, Doña Elvira. As part of the Mexican Fine Arts Center Museum's annual Day of the Dead exhibition, the Mondragon family not only produces and sells thousands of sugar skulls for museum visitors, but also demonstrates their talent and family tradition to almost 600 school groups. Every fall, students of all ages learn about the Dia de los Muertos celebration and the Mondragon family and their sugar skull making tradition. Following each exhibition tour and live demonstration, children, teachers, and parents buy and consume the brightly colored calaveritas de azúcar, and thus join the Mexican community in celebrating a rich tradition that reaffirms life and emphasizes that death is not the end, but a part of the cycle of life.
Wow. Wow, what a trip down memory lane. It was so good to see Alejandro and his family once again. Another important family that was part of this museum. Alejandro is no longer with us, but obviously the memories and the stories that we have stay on. That was a beautiful trip to the past on the Calaveras de Azúcar. The one thing they forgot to mention in that video, by the way, is how much attention, love, and expertise and experience they put into each one of those. Each one was amazing. So as I mentioned earlier, here we are in the gallery once again, and Dolores Mercado invited artists to create these doors, special places that go from one place to another. They transition. It's the idea of a passageway. Elsa Munoz did one that resembles a cave and mythological ideas of caves and doorways. There were others done by other artists such as Mark Nelson, who we'll come back and talk about in a little bit in more detail. But each one of these was a door that was given to the artist, and then the artist completely embellished it and changed it and created a doorway with a different idea. Atlan Arceo and Sam Kirk were the other artists who also transformed their doors to create these incredible spaces.
I'm the director of the Smithsonian Latino Center in Washington, D.C., and I'm really pleased to be here and recognize what the National Museum of Mexican Art is doing. They always do such a great job on Dia de Muertos. An event, a celebration, a tradition that is so important to our communities. It's all about families, we know. It's all about remembrance, those who have passed, the celebration of their lives. And especially at a time like this, it is so important that we come together as familia to celebrate the lives of those who have passed. It's been a rough year. Obviously, we also remember last year what happened on August the 3rd in El Paso, Texas, with the murder of 22 Mexican Americans at the Walmart there. And you know, this gives us pause to, again, remember lives lost, but also to celebrate their accomplishments and what they had meant to their families as well. So I join everyone else around the country in saluting the National Museum of Mexican Art in Chicago for its fabulous job that it does every year with Dia de Muertos. I hope that you enjoy the festivities and you'll love the art because it's always the best. Thank you so much.
Welcome back. Thank you, Eduardo. It was very good to hear from you, and we wish you the best out there in Washington, D.C. We wish you and the Smithsonian Latino Center and all of our compañeros out there well, and we wish you the best of luck with everything that's going on. The National Museum of Mexican Art has always believed in the power and the voice of the young. We have a Yollocalli Arts Reach, which is over 20 years old. So some of those early students are now teachers and people off in their own careers, still imagining, creating, and hopefully changing the world for the better. Yollocalli Arts Reach is a sacred space where young people work together, they formulate ideas, and of course, find something important to say, and they put their minds to it. This year they created an installation that is based on the ideas of piñatas. It is piñatas that are broken and piñatas that are still left to be broken. Why don't we let them talk a little bit about it? But this is the Yollocalli Arts Reach installation.
I'm Ash and I'm 17 years old. Hi, I'm Jennifer Garcia. I am 22 years old. I'm from Little Village and I'm part of Yollocalli. With the eruption of the protests in wake of the murder of George Floyd, we felt that it was important as youth and members of the Latinx community to stand up for the Black community and speak up against that racism and anti-Blackness that we are aware of and we notice that exist in the Latinx community. I think it's important mostly, well, in general, we have to support Black lives, and there's no doubt about that. They face like so many injustices in this world that we can't just sit by and let it happen. We have to stand up. And as part of the Latinx community, we also need to support them because I've seen people in our own community that don't necessarily support it or outrightly don't support it, and that's just not right. We face basically the same injustices, but they face it more than we do. So I don't understand why people don't show their support for Black lives. And we also think it's important to educate our own family members and our friends because it is our responsibility to spread this message and to keep the conversation going. Yeah, it always starts at home. That's where, like Ash said, we need to educate everybody whenever we see it happen.
Hola compañeros y compañeras. Saludos desde el este de Los Ángeles. Hi everybody, my name is Betty Avila. I'm the Executive Director of Self-Help Graphics and Art. And on behalf of the Self-Help team, an extended community, we want to wish the National Museum of Mexican Art a very beautiful and healing Day of the Dead season. I think this year for us, Day of the Dead is so important, and there's such a critical point of connection that is provided by El Dia de los Muertos for us every year. So we hope that you have a beautiful time with the exhibition, and felicidades on opening up the show, even if it's virtual. Here in LA, we're also going to be hosting our season virtually with workshops online and a virtual celebration that I think will still really pay respect and honor those who we have lost in the past year, and also call attention to so many of the incredible social justice movements that have come up in the last few months. So with gratitude and con mucho cariño, thank you so much.
You're enjoying tonight's virtual kickoff celebration of Day of the Dead, Solo un Poco Aqui. I also hope you're enjoying the performances by Son Monarcas, because this is your final performance of the evening. Dicen que todo lo bueno tiene su final, y ha llegado su final. Here are Son Monarcas and Zika performing La Bruja. Enjoy.
Son Monarcas with the National Museum of Mexican Art playing La Bruja.
Ay, qué bonito es volar
everyone. I hope you're enjoying our virtual kickoff event. We've enjoyed seeing your comments on social media and hope that you'll continue to follow us. We've noticed that we've got visitors from a variety of places around the world, not just around the country. We've got people from, of course, Chicago, from Winnipeg, Canada, from Oxnard, California, from Racine, Wisconsin, various places in Texas, Veracruz, Mexico, Indianapolis, and more. Thank you so much for joining us. You may know that the National Museum of Mexican Art remains closed to the public because of the COVID-19 pandemic. With the safety of both visitors and staff in mind, we'll remain closed to the public through the end of the year, with the Latino community continuing to suffer disproportionately from the pandemic. We'll not reopen until the health risk has decreased. To those of you who have had loved ones pass away, our hearts go out to you. We hope this year's Dia de los Muertos will help celebrate your departed loved ones.
Thank you, Barbara, and welcome back to the main gallery at the National Museum of Mexican Art. As you can see, many of the artists create memorials, they create installations. They are made to pay homage to, they're dedicated to people that they loved in their life. This particular piece that we see here by Mark Nelson is a piece devoted, dedicated to his father, Joshua Jacob Nelson. He was a naval retired officer. He was in the Korean and the Vietnam War, and he was somebody who traveled around a lot with his family in each place, teaching them about the culture and the country that they were in. He was very devoted. He was a faithful man, and he participated heavily in different places wherever the synagogues were. You can see by the photos here that he was somebody who loved family, who loved friends, and who had an incredible life with his boys.
In 2015, the National Museum has hosted Day of the Dead Chicago, an outdoor celebration of Dia de los Muertos, which takes place right outside of the museum, welcoming thousands of visitors from all over the Chicagoland area. Since the first Day of the Dead Chicago, over 300 individuals and families have participated by making ofrendas for their loved ones, creating a space where we can celebrate and share stories about their lives with other community members. This year, join us on November 1st for a virtual celebration of Day of the Dead Chicago. Although the event will not be taking place outdoors at the museum, we invite everyone to celebrate with us from the comfort of home. Beginning on September 30th, you can visit dayofthedeadchicago.org to submit photos of your ofrendas and altares created at home. A number of these ofrendas will be highlighted on the night of Day of the Dead Chicago, along with musical performances, face painting demos, and art activities for everyone to enjoy. Make sure to stay connected with us for updates regarding this virtual event and tips on creating your ofrendas at home. We look forward to celebrating with you this Dia de Muertos.
Gracias, Mario. As you can see, this evening, the Day of the Dead and the celebrations that go with it, making ofrendas, remembering those that we loved, should be a part of everybody's culture, should be part of what we all do. We should always remember our past. Even though those loved ones are not with us physically anymore, they're still important to us. They're still a part of our family. They're still a part of who we are. These days, it's probably a great time to sit down, look at old photo albums, remember the past, remember those who are not here, and teach their lives to the next generation. Let's not forget where we came from. Day of the Dead has a lot to offer the country here in the United States. It's a beautiful way to hang on to who we are and where we want to go. Also tonight, if we could take a moment and just remember Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who has left us better, hopefully, a better country, and taught us a lot while she was here. Thank you. Los extrañamos mucho. We can't wait until the days that you can come back and walk through the museum into our galleries and stand in front of the artwork, the inspired works by different artists from Mexico and the United States. Please, we're always free. There's no reason not to come after we open our doors. So in the meantime, wear those masks, wash your hands, and stay social distant, please, for everybody's good. Let's get over this. Thank you and good night.
Thank you for joining us for the National Museum of Mexican Art's virtual kickoff of the 2020 Dia de Muertos season. Solo un Poco Aqui, Day of the Dead, was made possible by ComEd, the Prince Charitable Trust, the City of Chicago Department of Cultural Affairs and Special Events, the Chicago Park District, the Illinois Arts Council, and hundreds of individual donors just like you. If you'd like to become a donor, look for a link in the chat or visit our website at nationalmuseumofmexicanart.org. Have a wonderful fall. We look forward to seeing you in person when we are able. Have a good night.
Thank you.